everybody, and welcome to a very special board game discussion video about utilizing board games in the classroom. Before I get started, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at all my various social media pages as well as my Patreon page. On all of those, you'll be able to interact with myself as well as my channel in all sorts of fun and unique ways. That said, moving right into the discussion. Like I said, I wanted to talk about utilizing games as teaching tools. Initially, this started off as a top 5 video where I was going to discuss games that do the best at teaching things. And I've talked about this before where I say games that you can learn from, and I've talked about games about like biology and chemistry and some of this other stuff. But one thing that I've noticed over the last few months particularly is that a lot of people have come to me and asked me about using board games as teaching tools. It's something that I've done when I've taught students, and it's something that I love the fact that I'm seeing a lot more teachers contacting me particularly and asking about it, as well as seeing forums on like Reddit and stuff like that. That said, looking at some of the games I was going to talk about, so we got this giant pile of games. Now, here's the thing, is that there's a company called Genius Games. You guys may be familiar with it, and I've been helping them make some of their chemistry and biology board games for a little while now. The thing is that as I was thinking about a top 5 list for this type of thing, I was like, it's all going to be Genius Games because they make really great games that you can learn a lot from. And the thing is, we got things like Covalence and Ion. So Covalence is where you are having like a team-based ion molecule building game. Ion is where you're trying to make neutrally charged ions. And then, of course, Cytosis, my personal favorite of Genius Games. This is the one I helped them the most with, which is a cell biology worker placement game. I've also got these guys, Compounded and Molecular. In both of these, you are trying to do all sorts of different stuff. In the case of Compounded, you actually have like a laboratory setting where you are trying to build up specific molecules and control things like CO2 output and things like that. And then in Molecular, this is a little bit more simplistic, where you're just trying to make specific molecular and atomic connections. And the thing is that all of these games are really great for potentially late middle or early high school, which are like grades, 8 to 11-ish, for really helping kids learn about science. One of the biggest issues that I always see in science classes is that the problem is kids need to have hands-on stuff that they can do and hold and look at and see. And games are a great way of accomplishing that. And it's unfortunate because a lot of teachers and other people don't seem to realize how much they can bring. Part of the problem is, and something that I've mentioned to a lot of people before, is that the school boards, the people who are actually in charge of curricula, take forever to figure out some of this stuff. And so it takes a long time for these to be officially approved. So some teachers will bring them in and just have like a board game day, and it's like, hey, we're going to learn about this particular thing and this is how we're going to do it. And it's really unfortunate that it doesn't happen more, because board games are a great way of maintaining kids' attention, because it's something that they are actively doing. It's a way of actively learning. And I hate the fact that not more schools are trying to really take advantage of this stuff, because there are a lot of games out there that do this. There's a lot of different types of games that talk about all sorts of different types of things. Even something like Gravwell, it's not inherently scientific. It doesn't talk about like gravitational constants or anything like that, the physics behind it, but you're still learning about the general idea of what gravity does and how it functions, and that's really cool. And it's something that people can do. Not to mention, most of these games are relatively quick, so it's great for a classroom setting, like with an hour and a half, hour and 15-minute long class, all of that kind of thing. And mostly for this discussion, I'm curious what you guys have to say about it. If you're a teacher, do you use board games in your classes? If so, why? And what do the other teachers think about it? Have you gotten other people on board with it? Have you talked to school boards? All that kind of thing. It's really unfortunate, because I've talked to school board members about bringing these into local community schools, and they just don't care. They don't want it because it's not tested and it's not known. And I'm like, I understand that. I'm a scientist. I want evidence-based information as well. But at the same time, We have lots of books, we have lots of information. There are a decent number of studies talking about how kids learn. And the fact is that kids learn better if they are actively doing something and seeing something in front of them that they are building up, that they are actually doing on the table, as opposed to just writing down notes or listening to a lecture. It does not work as well as something like this. And it's unfortunate to see, it really is. And I'm hoping that at some point we will see more games like this, or any games like this, be made part of a regular curriculum inside of schools all across the world. That is the dream, right? And honestly, it's part of why I started this channel in the first place, is because I love using board games as teaching tools. But like I said, I'm really curious what you guys have to say. If you're interested in this topic, have you done anything with it? Have you been able to talk to school board members or teachers or anything like that to really try to get them into the classroom? Or have you just brought games into classrooms and see how the kids react? You know, you don't even have to use games about science. You can use games like, you know, Werewolf or Two Rooms and a Boom, potentially, depending on how old the kids are, just to talk about like social interactions and stuff like that, and just get the kids talking to one another and doing critical thinking and all of that kind of stuff. There is a ton you can learn from board games aside from just the actual material contained within. And I'm hoping that members who have the ability to change things are able to see that. But like I said, that's enough rambling for me. I do want to hear what you guys have to say about this, especially if you're an educator yourself. Please let me know any and all thoughts in the comments below. You guys know I love hearing from you. But with that, thank you very, very much for watching this discussion video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.